Hi, and welcome to our visit to Lewes, the county town of East Sussex in the south of England. So we've driven the 48 miles from home that took us around 90 minutes through the English countryside. It may have been quicker by motorway, but anyway, the most direct route from London by train should take you just over an hour from London Victoria. Lewes isn't that big and our little tour is around 2.5 miles, and that includes a climb up Keere Street. We have quite a few places to see, so without further ado, let's get strolling. And we'll start with the River Ouse flowing past Harvey's Brewery, which was founded in Lewes in 1790 and brewing at this site since 1838. So a quick word about this recording. Shot on our DJI Osmo 360, we actually filmed the first half in hyperlapse. What does that mean for you? Some shots may look a little odd. Normal service will be resumed when we get to the Lewes Priory. However, it won't change the story of a visit to Lewes, nor hopefully spoil what we serve up to you. Talking of serving up, our first stop is the John Harvey pub. Well, it is lunchtime. The food's pretty good, and I can sample Harvey's low alcohol Sussex Best before we head on. Actually, I can also try the low alcohol Old Ale too. Happy days. Anyway, we've a town to explore, and just on the stroll from the car park to here, we've already formed an opinion. We like Lewes, it's nice. And on this day in May, we're blessed with blue skies and a touch of warmth. And as we set off to explore, we're going to counterintuitively turn right, away from the centre of town, to take a look at Cliffe High Street. Unsurprisingly, this is where you'll find Harvey's Brewery shop, and it sort of gives you an introduction to Lewes, a mix of independent shops, pubs and restaurants, but also with some brands we may be familiar with. Along here you'll find a series of antiques, curios and bric-a-brac shops. I need to keep moving, else I'll be in trouble. And while I do, let me give you a little of Lewes's history. Thought to have been founded by the Saxons in around about the 6th century, its position on the River Ouse made it a valuable trading settlement long before the Norman conquest. And you'll find evidence of that in churches like the Thomas à Becket, with its roots dating back to the 12th century. We'll discover more as we wander through town. At this point we're going to turn around and head back, and I'll use a little bit of that hyperlapse footage. By the 13th century, Lewes had become a significant town, prospering from the wool trade and the ironworking in the Sussex Weald. Its position on the River Ouse made it the perfect place to trade from. In fact, when you look at the eclectic mix of buildings, constructed in many different periods, you can see that Lewes has always been an attractive proposition. If you want to know more about the history of a specific building, then I would recommend searching out Historic England's website. There's a link in the description for this and a bunch more useful stuff if you plan to visit Lewes, so be sure to check that out. If you find this video useful or interesting, don't forget to give us a like. And if you like my style of video, then why not subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future content. If you visit Lewes and want more information, then the local tourist office is here to our left. This is only a temporary home, open Monday to Fridays except bank holidays, but of course there'll be a link in the description where you can find more information. So we're now closing in on Fitzroy House, an architectural gem in a Victorian Gothic style by Sir George Gilbert Scott, best known for St Pancras Station and Albert Memorial in London, but also Nikolaikirche in Hamburg, Germany. It was built as the Fitzroy Memorial Library, commissioned by Hannah Fitzroy in memory of her husband, Henry Fitzroy, the MP for Lewes from 1937 until his death in 1859. The library became Lewes's first public library in 1897 and served the town until the 1950s. It fell into disrepair and was bought in 1978 and painstakingly restored. It's now a private house, but I believe it's occasionally opened during heritage events in Lewes. Now, as we climb the high street past the Georgian fronting buildings and an interesting mix of shops. I wonder if you're thinking, I've heard of Lewes, but not sure why. Then may I suggest it's from its bonfire celebrations. The town makes quite a big thing of it, and it's popular with visitors. Once again, there's a link in the description with more information from Visit Lewes. However, the bonfires also commemorate the Lewes martyrs, 17 Protestants who were burned at the stake in Lewes between 1555 and 1557 as part of the Marian persecutions during the reign of Mary I. We'll see more evidence of that turbulent period of English history later, but we close in on another symbol of those who gave their lives for a greater good, and that's Lewes War Memorial. It commemorates the 251 men from Lewes who died in the First World War and the 126 who died in the Second World War. It was unveiled in 1922. Just along from here we have the Lewes Market Tower, constructed in 1792 to house the old town clock, and the 16th century bell Gabriel, taken from St Nicholas's Church, which was demolished in 1761. Next to it is the Crown Hotel. A plaque on the front tells us it was known as the Black Lion Coaching Inn from 1633 and renamed the Crown in 1790, with a Georgian facade added along with the additional story around 1840. It's now residential. And just along from here we have the Lewes Town Council building. At its heart, it's 14th century, although rebuilt above ground in the later 18th century. But what you see was remodelled in 1893. We're now going to drop down from the High Street along with one of Lewes's Twittons. These narrow roads, once Anglo-Saxon alleyways, are going to take us towards Lewes Priory, but not before we pass Charleston in Lewes, an extension of the nearby Charleston farmhouse, the country bolt hole of the early 20th century Bloomsbury group of associated British writers, intellectuals, philosophers and artists. There's a link with more info in the description. We've now entered Southover Grange Gardens, a beautiful free public space with a collection of modernist sculptures. It's a wonderfully peaceful place to visit, but to be honest, we found Lewes relaxing. Oh, except getting parked. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of little car parks and many with EV charging points, but some have time limits of just 2 hours and many quite busy. We eventually found a space, but I guess the weekends may be worse. That said, we're having a great time and we'll definitely be back. It's a great place to stay and explore the surrounding area. Brighton is a little over 10 miles away and accessible by rail or car in under half an hour. We're still heading towards the remains of Lewes Priory, but not before we pass Trinity Church. There's the promise of Commonwealth war graves, 6 individuals who fell in the First World War, but we luck out. Are you a local? Do you know where they're hidden? So we've found it. Another wonderfully open space free to visit, the remains of Lewes Priory. It was once the largest, richest and most influential monasteries in medieval England. Lewes Priory was founded in 1077, shortly after the Norman conquest, by William de Warenne, 1st Earl of Surrey, who received his title and his lands as a gift for his support of William. They invited monks from the great Abbey of Cluny in France, who set up a Clunic order, a branch of the Benedictine order. And this place thrived until, well, you know, Henry VIII, the English Reformation, and the dissolution of the monasteries. And when you look at the size of this site, you can understand what a massive impact this must have had on the 16th century society. As we look over the remains of the washroom facilities, this is when we realise we've been shooting in the wrong mode. Normal service will resume from here. After its fall from grace in 1537, the buildings were stripped, the lead roofs were removed, and a lot of the stonework was reused in local buildings, so what we see is only a fraction of what once stood. Fortunately, there's a lot of useful information on how it would have once looked. You just need to use a little bit of imagination. Perhaps we need to visit Cluny, where the remains of that abbey look in better shape. Anyway, our next point of interest is the Anne of Cleeves House Museum. It is a beautiful timber-framed Tudor building, gifted to Anna Cleeves after her short marriage to Henry VIII, although she never actually lived here. But what has been preserved is a look into Tudor and Elizabethan England. I hear the gardens are particularly stunning, but with just our few hours here, we've decided to skip this time. We're going to head on, enjoy the architecture, until we make our way to our next little pin on our must-see list. It's just a short 10-minute walk, and we didn't take the direct route either. That's until we arrive at the historic Keere Street. Now, I did mention Lewes is hilly, didn't I? Anyway, it's here you get a view of the old town walls, before you embark on the inevitable climb up Keere Street. Although according to Google, it's only a climb of 79 foot or 24 metres. And on this beautiful spring day, it doesn't look too bad. This is another of Lewes's Twittons that date back from Anglo-Saxon times, and we are just outside the town walls, so some of the gardens here back directly onto them. And despite the Georgian facades, most of these houses date before that period. If you're climbing the hill, it's worth turning round at times to catch the view. As we climb, it's hard to think that this beautiful little street once had a very different feel to it. During the Victorian period, it was very much working class, with the wealthier type living on the high street at the top. A local nickname for Keere Street was Scare Hill because of that descent. There is also a doubtful legend that the Prince Regent, later to become King George IV, raced a coach with 4 horses down the hill to Southover Grange to win a wager. It makes a great story, even if it may not be true. And talking of stories and an awful confession, to our left at the top of Keere Street, where it meets the High Street, is a 15th century bookshop. You'll have to take our word for it because we completely missed it. Our next point of interest is Bull House, once home of Thomas Paine, sometimes referred to as the father of the American Revolution. We also featured a house he once lived in on a visit to Sandwich in Kent. I'll pop that up at the end in case you like historic English towns. Now just across the road we have St Michael in Lewes Church, which we'll take a closer look at. Like many buildings in the region, it's constructed largely from flint, found in abundance in the Chalky Downs and dressed with stonework. Its striking feature is its round tower, topped with a shingle spire. Once again it has Norman roots, but been modified and restored many times over the centuries, most notably during the Victorian period. That bronze figure on the tower is actually fiberglass, and is of St Michael the Archangel, leading you into the church. Once inside, you're greeted with a relatively plain, intimate church. It's not trying to be too grand or too ornate, it feels like it's just here to serve its congregation. Once again, it's changed over time from Norman to medieval and finally Victorian Gothic revival. In the corner of the church, you'll see the original Norman font. The altar, very much of a later period. And the feature of the church that I'm always drawn to is the church organ. A colourful little creation that I bet fills this space wonderfully. Now it's time to take a few steps to our next feature of Lewes, and that's the castle. As I mentioned, it's Norman, probably built between 1069 and 1070. Although originally constructed from timber and earth, utilising the natural features of the landscape, the stonework came later in the 12th and 13th centuries. It's operated by Sussex Pass, and as I mentioned before, there'll be a link in the description for times and prices. Our whistle-stop tour didn't give us enough time to visit, but surely one for next time. The main keep is high on the hill above, and should give you the best views over Lewes. We're making the most of our trip by taking in the gatehouses. We'll glance back up at the keep as we make our way back to the High Street, as we wendle our way to the car park, along Fisher Street, and a look at Lewes Town Hall. I think it's now time to say au revoir. Until next time, Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and happy travels.